I found a little oops. I had this guy a little too close to the road. I don't want to do that. He wasn't supposed to be near the road. Um, there are advantages to being in the mountains near the road. You can alert farther, but I don't want to be near the roads. Now, security operations can't take them out if they're not actually on the road, but it does make things a little too easy. Um, and at this point in the game, I would rather have everything kind of squirreled away as safely as it can for the VC. So actually starting the first submarine phase, support phase, well, that's just getting the numbers down on the track. They're where they belong, I hope. Special operations. So the U.S. is first to choose here, and this is pretty obvious. They do not necessarily want to do special operations. However, that's with the U.S. units. The ARVN units, maybe I need to, and I got to consider those because, you know, if I'm in a place like this or something, I may be in some danger. And this is the only time that I have a chance to set those things up before the VC can start doing damage to me. Now, with the number of VC pieces on the board, I can tell you, hey, there's 45, 49 pieces on the board. I know that they're all crappy little battalions and they're probably not going to be doing a damn thing. But I should get in the habit. For the VC, for the U.S. forces, there's no way I want to put them on a hold or patrol operation at this point. They need to go out and do stuff, basically. Although, going up and grabbing, you know, one of these towns or something might be of some value. Honestly, it doesn't make a damn bit of difference, except that the VC can run down and capture those towns and, you know, affect the, looking for the right chart, it's not just kicking there, affect the population persuasion in those areas. But I'd still have to drive there, right? So I might as well leave my pieces on the board where they are. For the VC units, it's a hard call because it might be useful to have some mobility. But if I'm in a hold position, I'm going to be better defended. And if I'm in a patrol position, I could actually make the movement point costs around those units more difficult. Now, I used to like to put, and I'm sure I will again during the course of this game, but I used to set up my VC near the roads so that they could be on a patrol operation and clog things up a little bit. My feeling this time around is, nah. You know, I think I'm gonna just make sure that I have presences everywhere. I'm not gonna really worry about trying to interdict U.S.-based movement too much. It puts my units too much at danger, and at this point, I don't have that many. But there may be places where I want to put units on hold. I doubt it. First of all, I always have the option to do it. So unlike the ARVN forces, I get if I want something on hold, if I see what the U.S. is doing and I don't like what my position is, I can change my strategy and throw down lots of hold operations, etc. All right. Okay, so just thinking briefly. Well, I put my hold markers on all my small units that are effective. I can't put it on the ineffective units. They're not allowed to do anything except strategic movement to a town, you know. So that's not going to help me there. And like I said, with the VC, I want to keep some mobility there. I don't feel like I'm sitting in any locations I want to fight for. And I can always change my mind as I go. Which means I have to look up the ARVN rules. That's why I changed where I was. Strategic movement phase. This will make the units ops complete. I can move them, you know, broadly across Vietnam. I don't see doing that. I put the units kind of where I wanted to keep them. You can make an argument that I need something here in second core. That may be the case, you know, but whatever. And this is not the time to do it. I could do naval movement. For security missions, which is the other thing that I might do in my strategic movement phase, I don't really want to do those. I don't have any VC on the roads. There's nothing to clear. So that's all set. Which means we move to the meat of the game, the operations phase. And do I want to do an operations yet? One of the things is the first couple you do are going to be really, really expensive in terms of mental activity. And then they kind of become a couple minutes each or whatever. But I had somebody mention it took like an hour to do an operation. Yeah. The biggest part for me is figuring out, can I do what I want to do? What is it I want to do? Where am I going to go? Shit like that. And I'm going to psych myself up for it. That's what's going to cost me the most. Difficulty in getting started is a reticence coming from the fact that I know I'm going to fuck things up. I always do in this game. My history is so bad with it, and I just know that the US is so much harder. But anyway, let's get started. Let me see what cultivated terrain is like for mechanized units. Yeah, not pleasant. Okay. Just wanted to take a quick look to see if I had a chance of getting at this with a mech unit. So I've made some little tweaking over here. I changed the 1st Marines deployments to not have the headquarters present. Let me think about here. This is just, these guys, I have one headquarters present for the 3rd Marines. That might be useful. I might go back on that decision. And again, you can't do that legitimately, but I feel like this first turn is such a learning situation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send one of these units out of Saigon. And he's not going to go where he wants to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Declaring this as my target hex. Now, at this point, I have to figure out where my artillery, etc., is coming from. Remember, I can get 3 times the artillery in play. Well, okay. Go Kong. Let's see if I want to free fire this before I do it. By the way, the NLF is saying take your first operation, as they usually will. Go Kong here. Looks like I have no population there, so I can create a free fire zone there just fine. Yes, I know. But that's important because now I've got twice as much power as I would. Now here's the problem. I don't have any artillery or anything to back this up. I don't have any interdiction, which means it's going to cost 3 movement points to move out of that hex. Alert chance, let's see. I think I'm okay. Let me just look up the alert situation. It's a roll plus the cost of the hex. So on a roll of, and actually I can do better than this. I can be there. Ha ha ha. Okay. Because this guy's up against the coast, he has a really hard time getting out of there. So he's got a movement point allowance of 1 plus a die roll. That's not very good. He'd have to skirt along here. He could possibly cross the water hex side. over here, but that would cost 3 extra movement points. That would, and going into a swamp here, I mean, I'm not going to be able to get in there. That's a horrible place. So that's going to cost me like 6 movement points. That's really unlikely. That's probably my easiest escape. 9 strength points of units. Do I want to have that? It's a good question. Let's see if I find my combat chart here. There's a copy of it. Okay, so the U.S. will be on the on the lowest chart, which is a good thing. If I can get at least like 3 or 4 to 1, I'm going to get some pretty good modifiers on there. I think I got a pretty good chance here. So, without looking at anything, the VC unit's going to make a quick roll and see if it can get out. I get 2 movement points. Now I can peek at this guy. It's a political section. It's pretty much doomed. I could dissolve it, but it's not worth anything. So basically, as soon as it's revealed for the actual fight, because it's not going to be able to get away with 2 movement points, right? That's to get me here. It goes away. And we've had a success. Now, we created a free fire zone, and we fired our cruiser, which is a big part of our firepower already. And yeah, we did something. Was it worth it? I don't know. You know. All right, that's an operation. Got another operation down here I'm going to do. I'm going to use the 1st Marine headquarters and 2 units. This is actually a pretty potent force. Let me see what we got here. We got the 2-1 and the 3-1. I'll keep the 1-1 separate for the next part. Now, these are going to define as the operation. I'm going to be attacking this unit. So the headquarters is going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to here. I can get him in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 into there. All right. The reason the headquarters is up here is to provide fire support there. Why is this guy in here? Well, this guy's in here because he might be able to pursue, but that seems unlikely. Let me just limit it to that. Yeah, now I'm worried about getting attacked by that VC unit. That's the problem. Ah, boy. See, I hate leaving my headquarters out on its own. It's too vulnerable. The VC can attack it then. I think I've got to move a unit down with it. And that'll at least give me some zones of control over here, which isn't that helpful. Okay, so I've gotten there. The VC unit's in a cultivated spot. It's got a movement allowance of 1 again. Do I want to do an interdiction? I have 8 firepower and Bazillion. Bazillion, I probably want to make free fire as well. Yeah, I don't know. 4 out of 9. Yeah, I don't think I do. Okay. No interdictions in place. I'm hoping for the best. And he gets a 6 movement, so that gives him 7 movement points. So it's 1, 2, 3 to get out of here. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're no longer in range. So We get ops complete on both of these because they didn't get anywhere. And this is where things get tricky, you know. A roll of 1 or 2 would have gotten him to here, but a roll of 3 would have gotten him there. And without any interdiction, without another unit or something, I can't really block his movement. And that's kind of the thing. They're slippery, they get away. I think I'm going to commit one more unit down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He can't reach. Shit. I thought I had him in range where he could reach down there. I could take another crack at this thing. I don't know. Let me think. So one thing, I do have a zone of control here. I can't use him for much. Right, that's 5th Division. Oh, that is actually effective. Huh. Of course, I don't want to expose my my capital particularly. And that's one of the problems. Somebody pointed out to me, instead of building all these regiments, I should have built from the same division just the armored cavalry units, which, or reconnaissance, or whatever you want to call them, which if we look at, they cost no personnel and only 1 supply each to build, which is particularly cheap. Ah, jeez. I'm kind of at a loss again and have to stop and think some more. One of the real things with this game is just the trying to find the places where you might be able to catch the VC units and might be able to pin them down. And right now, I just don't have the firepower to both win the fights and throw the interdiction down. Looking at other possibilities, like hitting something like this. Now, I could get there, no problem. I could stand on top of him, in which case we know what the numbers are. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to move out, right? Which means a roll of 4 or higher. He's got a 50-50 chance of catching the unit. And he doesn't really have a lot of artillery in support of himself. I'd have to either throw a free fire zone on there, which I don't really want to do, especially since he's sitting on a border, or throw a whole lot more firepower in. Now, how much firepower am I using? Well, that's kind of the thing, is I just don't have that much firepower. We saw the cruiser, that's 6 points with a free fire zone. So to get the equivalent kind of firepower for that, well, I got 3 here. I'd have to throw 9 of my air power in. Basically, I'd get 2 attacks, you know, if I'm successful. And that's getting that 50-50 chance of doing things. Now, obviously, at some point, I'm going to get a whole bunch of artillery on the board. I guess. Or air power. Or something. I don't know. But actually catching these little fuckers is the real problem. Committed to another one here. Vinh Dong, or Vinh Long. I can't really commit to a free fire. It's too good, I think. This is why I kind of didn't want to go in there. 7 out of 11. Yeah, I don't want to start blowing up my people. It doesn't matter whose people they are. But here, I've got him kind of pinned against this river. I'm afraid of him heading this way into Vinh Binh now. And that's the difficulty. There's not much I can do about that. I can throw in some more, some of the air power. Right now, if he rolls a 3 or less, I'm fine, except that he'll run away from this unit and it won't be able to attack. And, geez. Is 1st Division active now? What if I go to here? Yeah, that doesn't really help me. He could run next to that. And then he could run away from the road if he wants to. I'm just going to go with this and hope for the best. I don't think it's very helpful. Do I need air power? I'm looking at half of 2 as my likely firepower. I need a lot more than that. So 3 plus 1, I want to throw 5 more in, that's 10 air power. Yep. And we'll see. His alert die roll, he only gets a total of 3. A 3 can't put him very far. It could put him here. Does he want to dissolve? This is a pretty good unit. It's even got some artillery support. I'm going to move here and I'm going to take it. Moving there is important because it makes him ops complete. He will not be fighting in this round. But I threw 12, so I've got a total of 9 to 4. 9 to 4. Of course, I could have just cashed that in for replacement points. 9 to 4. Let's see what we got here. That's going to be a 2 to 1, which will be a +2. And what do we roll? A single die, I believe. The terrain is cultivated, which has possible regional forces. I don't think I can use them on attack. Correct. So I've got +2 to the die roll and a fair amount of air points in here. I think 6 points. So I roll a 6. That puts me to here. The U.S. actually gets boosted up to here. The attacker takes 0. Let's look at the NLF. I was throwing 6 artillery power in total, plus his strength of 3, puts him up to a 9. He takes 2 hits. I don't have any replacement points, so I kill the unit, but I get a replacement point back. Now, this ends up in the body bag, which I have to establish somewhere, because it's going to count at the end of everything. And we had nothing special here. We do have a +2 pursuit bonus though. Now the operation is not over, but I can't extend it anywhere. He has a pursuit bonus of 2 + 2 is 4. I'll move him to there and get the ops complete marker. And now, you know, I've got the Vin Bin capital held. All right, I need to take a little bit of a break. I know, eventually I get really used to it, and also I won't be doing it all on camera, so it'll be a little easier. But you can see I've burned through half my air points. I burned through my cruiser. I haven't done much. It takes tremendous amounts of firepower to succeed in this game, whether it's, you know, decent amounts with free fire or without the free fire. It takes so damn much. A couple more successful operations, one down here, and then I ran all the way up here, sent a unit down with the last couple air points I had to take this out. I have really one more operation I think I can do, maybe 2. Based on the fact, yeah, I have a couple of Marine headquarters kicking around that I can get close enough, if I can get them close enough, to be able to fire. I have enough firepower to do something. You can see I've wiped out a few of these. Of course, I have to kill 30 of them to start getting body count bonuses. So it's kind of silly that I'm keeping them right now. I think the political section actually counted, but again, I'm not going to hit 30 over the course of the season, I don't think. Not with what's sitting around out there right now. So we're kind of winding down. Do I want to try to use ARVN units? Well, the reason I don't is that I have them spread out in the capitals. and they're kind of defending the capitals again. I bought what I could. I figured most of them would end up ineffective, and largely that's the case. I can build more replacement units to be able to use the ones that are more likely, some battalions and stuff, to use the ones that are more likely to be effective. And that'll be somewhat helpful. But, things start out kind of slow. It's hard to, at least with me, I can't find myself the capability to ramp up anywhere near rapidly enough to just take out the problem right away. Out of the problem, I only have one air mobile transportation point. I bought these damn Riverines. They're not helping me. I mean, you don't need many of them. Basically, they help you in the swamps, and they help you cross rivers and water hexsides. And they help a lot in those cases, but you don't really usually need to cross a water hexside. Now, I would need to do one here, to catch that. Or else walk through a whole bunch of clear terrain, which is okay too. These guys along the coast, they were a mistake, as we saw before, with the ability to kind of pin them down, but I wanted to stay away from the roads because the roads are also a mistake to be near. Yeah, I'm having trouble. Basically, this force and this force don't have the mobility to get where they want to go. So at this point, the NLF is still saying, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. And I keep going, but there's not a whole lot left that I want to move. And in fact, I might be willing to say, yeah, okay, why don't you do some stuff? Why don't you see, do you want to go grab one of these capitals? Go ahead, be my guest. Be my guest. I could do a security operation if you get on the road. I could, on the other hand, maybe I want to throw something up there to defend that and prevent them from grabbing it. But I don't think they really want to go into them. As long as there's forces that can strike them, it's kind of painful to take the capitals. And the capitals are sitting on roads. I could do a security operation at just about any time, especially if I'm grabbing a headquarters with me, and I've got headquarters available still, where I could really lay some pain on the VC. So this may be the end of the line. I may want to get off these coasts. That's one of the things I'm considering. But to do so, I get near the roads, and that starts to cause problems. Maybe we're done with the first turn here. Remember, 2 turns per season. I think I polished off the last couple actions I wanted to do, which were really just movement ones. I shifted someone over here. I moved up here into a hold formation there. That puts me in striking range of these VC. And otherwise, I'm just kind of sitting there. And I've passed. And at this point, the VC have their option. They don't want to go grab things at this point. They kind of want to do it. I mean, they could grab open stuff, especially if they were kind of close to it, running, get a captured capital, run out. I don't know if there's anywhere where they're in that kind of position, though. Instead, they're going to wait, and in the second turn, they'll do that. And for the first turn, well, I get to clear off all the ops complete markers. And then we start this over, and those points go back. And you can see, it doesn't take very long when the U.S. doesn't have much to do and there's not an offensive going on, right? I videoed for, 30 minutes or whatever, and that's about how much I've spent on playing this first turn of the game. So starting the second turn, the U.S. has pulled its, wherever it had dropped a hold over here. Was there another one? This is kind of hard. You got to kind of scan through everything, make sure, everything's where you want it. I was okay with all of these. I don't think I'm needing to change any of the holds that I had on the ARVN units. But yeah, I definitely wanted to get that US unit available because it might be attacking up here. Beyond that, you know, I got one free fire zone, and therefore the VC is going to stay out of there. So that's just kind of the nature of things. As soon as something goes free fire, might be time for the VC to just pull out if they're, you know, if they're heavily invested in an area. On the other hand, maybe let the U.S. player try to attack pieces. All right, and I guess the VC, the NLF is going to give the U.S. first shot at the ball again. No reason for me to do anything as long as they're not passing. The U.S. operation was taking advantage of the artillery I already had in place. I ended up just chasing these guys away. The road gives them an easy shot. Now, here's the problem. If I sit on that road, I'm in danger. Luckily for me, I'm not in range of that headquarters. So I don't know, maybe I stay there. Because the U.S. armored units, etc., aren't exactly what I want to fight with. This isn't so bad. But that big 5 strength point unit, that puts me immediately above that 0 to 3.5 or whatever strength points, which means I'm fighting in a worse column than I could be. I'm pretty damn sure all these VC units, there's not going to be any nasty surprises because I can count them. Got to decide if the VC wants to trigger this unit and move it somewhere. It's not much harm to do so, but then again, I don't know that it's all that necessary. And I decided to strategic move them, got them out to here, and then the U.S. Went in there with the headquarters, actually. Failed to get it, but I've still got the headquarters in range, which means this guy can take another crack at it. I've got a very limited number of attacks with my air power, but I'm not using air power right here. Now, of course, I'm also not catching this thing. I'm just chasing it around because it keeps rolling high enough on its alert roll. Having so much trouble pinning this thing down, I've sent another unit in. I'm going to use most of the firepower from this because if he gets away 1 hex, he's out of my range anyway. I'm using most of that firepower to drop an interdiction on there. I've still got a couple extra points for gunfire. Let's see what the reaction is. Yeah, he's getting out again. Here against the water, I did manage to pin him down. It was a political section, of course. That's what I like to put against the coast. Oh, you know the secrets of my strategy. I mean, the point is you got to go kill them, and they're just as deadly as the battalions are. And they might get away, but they probably aren't, so I'd rather not take losses for them. And it's kind of far from the roads and everything. It puts the U.S. kind of out of position to have done that. But you got to do what you got to do, right? To note, like I could come out of here, but then that may open up the possibility of a strategic move into that capital, getting a capital capture that otherwise isn't going to fall. So the pain in trying to pursue with these units, and I've used up my boats, so the coastline is not particularly advantageous for me to be fighting on. I'd need to bring in some air support or something. Ends up making it so that, well, maybe it's not really all that big a deal for me to try to launch. You know, maybe it's not that advantageous for me to go there because then this unit can slip through, grab a capital that I kind of want to hold, maybe. I don't know. I mean, that's one of the problems is remembering where you've got your population. Now, somebody mentioned something, this could be useful. Just put a sheet of plexi over the whole board and mark the map up. I don't think my sheet of plexi is big enough to cover the whole board, and I only have the one, so yeah. Another potential attack here. Now here I'm using 2 units. I declared a free fire because there's no population for me in here. The kill is, you know, chances are I'm not going to get it raised if I don't get these units out of there. So one of these units is probably not in the fight. The headquarters came along, but this headquarters, I was kind of hoping I could catch both of these, but I don't think I could. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, I could have. All right, let's put it right there because conceivably, I don't know, my armor's not going to get there. Yeah, it's fine either way. But because I free fired it and I've got an extra point of air power, there's a chance that thing might not be able to get away. Let's see. That's a crappy alert roll. It's only got 3 movement points. It would cost me 3 movement points to get out of the zone of control and out of that space. So, take a look at the VC unit, decide whether or not it wants to stick around and fight. It does not. Chances are I'll just lose the strength point anyway, so I might as well take the replacement back. And hey, there's nothing in the target hex. So the US is done. And so much of the game is that way, where really nothing's happening. You're just, you know, checking to see, hey, did I catch something? If I did, I probably have enough committed. I had an extra error point in there. Not being able to get out of that hex meant the artillery was able to fire. The cost, though, that free fire zone. That's the big deal. You know, now I've just made it much harder for that area to go pro-US. There's actually one thing I could have done. This guy has a reaction move. He probably doesn't want to be in that zone of control. He could have moved in and thrown his strength in. I don't want to do that. I don't remember the order of reaction moves. I think I had to make it before I made my alert check, because I could react in and then alert. So he would be paying 1 extra. And these are 2 each. 6. So that would be like... See, the thing is, I kind of want to stay here, but I can't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's it. And that's not optimal. He's going to end up... Either way, he's going to end up not causing me any population shift, because there's only 1 unit left in there. So, I don't know the modifier. The free fire costs more than the unit, the 2 units that were there. They were worth -1. The free fire is worth -2. Up here where we'd have no free fire, we dumped in 10 air points, which is about what it takes, in my view. Maybe I'm overly conservative, but, and the VC alerted out of there. But now the VC need to take a move, because I can't be sitting on the road. That's just asking for a security operation to take place. Yes, I might get away from a security operation, but they're just too easy to get down there. Although being on the road, I don't know. But anyway, so I'm probably going to try to find a place that I can run him to, using strategic movement, which may be, I don't really like being near the road. Maybe up here if I can manage it. I got a lot of movement. And strategic movement's kind of neat in this game. You can run through zones of control. You have to pay, but, you know, you just can't fight. And the US conducts an operation, destroys that unit finally. It was a 1-pointer. They didn't actually fight it. It disappeared. At this point, I'm out of US power, though. I threw in 8 air points into that. I got 1 left. That could be maybe useful, you know, if I have a fight I need to undertake or something. But I'm out of operations for the US, basically, because of that. I could still look for an ARVN unit, but they suck. Augmented, they're a little bit better. They got a little bit more artillery. They got, you know, but they tend to have high strength points and not a lot of artillery support, not a lot of pursuit capability. They're really not very good at fighting this war, even if they're effective or whatever. I know you kind of want to rely on ARVN as much as possible. My feeling just is, unless you can get a cluster of ARVN units coming in at one place because of the bonus in the reaction move, because of their restrictions, reductions in their units, unless you have a lot of artillery or something, you're just not going to get it. And I'm not set up for it. I bought all these damn replacement points. They're kind of going to waste. I should have I should have probably bought a few less, gotten some artillery, and then I'd be able to use my ARVN for something. Anyway, I'll look to see if I have anything effective that's useful. Right now, though, it looks like the U.S. is about to pass, in which case we're at the point where the VC starts thinking about what they want to do because they're going into an interphase turn. Now, they got to be a little careful because there are still some U.S. units around, and there are ARVN units that could do security or whatever. So there's no real guarantee that I'm safe if I go run take something. So, you know, something like this may not be absolutely safe. A security operation could go down there. If I grab a lot of things on the road, one big security operation could take everything out. But I didn't save the air points for it. So, you know, I got to find a headquarters or something to do it. Part of the thinking in that is what's effective, what's not. That's a big part of it. Because if I don't have a headquarters, if I don't have any firepower to throw into this, it is not going to work. So one place where the rules aren't exactly clear on this, I like VG's rules overall, but I'll explain what my interpretation is. By the way, I looked up the discussion on the increase of the ratio of ARVN points, basically. Let's see where it is. Should be here. What was it? Instead of 4 replacement points coming for each purchase, there's been this thing where, well, maybe you should up that. I thought it was a different price. I thought something went to like 2.5 or something like that instead of 3 or something. I don't know. But apparently this is a well-spread statement, but the guy who's doing the intro to this brought up some history on it. What Nick Karp said was, this is the historical, which is not exactly, you know, what I had heard was, yeah, that may be a little off. Well, this guy's representation of it is, Nick Karp did not say you should change that value. What he said is, if you're finding it too hard to win with the US, maybe you can change that value. The problem with doing that is, I already rely on ARVN a fair amount, I think, especially early in the game. I know you're not seeing it right now, but in previous plays, I've relied on ARVN a lot anyway. And if you make it more cost effective to rely on ARVN, I think you're going to go well beyond the historical usage of their forces, like if you make their replacements cheap or something. We'll see. It may just be that ARVN is just so crappy that relying on them is not that good an idea. And I'm beginning to suspect that's the case because I've seen what they do, and they're okay sometimes down here. But anyway, what was I talking about? Yes, the captured capitals. So the U.S. is passing. The VC's moved some pieces around, kind of equalizing stuff. Hey, let's make sure we get, you know, something in Bakluyt. Let's make sure we get something here. It's not really terribly exposed to the U.S., especially without the air points to take advantage of it, and without any firepower really to back me up. So I'm not too afraid of putting myself places, but I'm still very hesitant about getting on the roads. But one thing I could do is I can walk through a city, get a captured capital marker on it, and that has some impacts beyond just sitting there. Just sitting there is also valuable, but let me look at how this is worded. A city or town is considered captured if it is ever occupied by NLF forces, but no ARVN, blah, blah, blah. It's considered recaptured if it's subsequently occupied by any of those forces, but no NLF forces. Well, there's no way to mark that because the captured capital marker stays on the board until the next interphase, no matter what. And the way I'm playing that is if the NLF stays and occupies the capital throughout the turn and is there at the beginning, they get to keep their captured capital marker on there for the next turn because they're still there. You know, there's no real way to mark to say whether or not U.S. controlled forces have moved through the capital again. I guess you could flip it over to its patrol side for no apparent reason. But yeah, the captured capital are just a single marker. It doesn't have a double side to say it's captured but not really NLF anymore. I think it's perfectly reasonable to say they have to sit in it to get the points for it. But anyway, I can look for places where there are capitals that are exposed and just overrun them, get some quick points for them in terms of affecting. The biggie isn't so much that I affect the population here, which if the U.S. isn't occupying the capital with one of their, with ARVN forces or something, probably means there's no population there, or very little for the VC to get control over still. The big thing is it affects the SVN morale to capture 3 capitals or something like that. Using strategic movement, I should be able to move through. The main thing I wanted to check was that I didn't have to park on it for any length of time, that I could walk through it and capture it, and that appears to be the case. Left something like 5 capitals open. I grabbed 4 of them. I did not go for Gokong down here because, I don't know, I might possibly be able to run up and do something about it. But I feel like I'd be at risk. However, I got some interesting stuff. First of all, I could throw the NVA down and probably grab all the way down to, told it's Hui, not Huey. Huey did not sound good, but whatever, or Hugh. But I've got I've got some VC units here. I could probably blow this thing away. Chances are. Could reinforcements come in? Sure. But what does the U.S. have? Well, I'm allowed to paw through it. They have a headquarters. That's the problem. So I don't think I'm going to do it yet. I'm going to wait until the U.S. overextends itself. And I've grabbed my my capitals that I want to grab. 3 of them is the magic number. I think, like I said, I grabbed 4. I think I'm done with the turn. I expect people to dissect and criticize and critique my play because I know it can't be any good. Like I said, the U.S. My U.S. players never managed to do anywhere near the historical level of success. So I'm sure I'm doing shit wrong. Part of my worries. And especially early on, before I kind of get the patterns and before I get enough troops to do anything, because I do the slower ramp up than maybe I should. But I just can't. I can't convince myself to throw that extra. I can't convince myself to take less points, per political expenditure, per morale that I'm losing. And I'm also very, very afraid to go up to the commitment level where I'm losing points every turn off my morale. Very afraid of doing that. But last game showed I was too afraid. We'll see about whether I can be a little bit wiser this one. I think I'm going to do the interphase on this video as well. So we'll take a little break. And I'll come back and do some calculations for you. So the first thing that really happens, I can start filling out the record sheets. That's what's supposed to happen. But we hit the pacification phase. I should fill out the record sheets actually because SVN morale affects this. I should also remove some of those ops complete markers. Even with the high die roll for the economic aid, I still ended up 1 point short of getting to where I wanted the SVN morale. So I'm going to have a column shift against me in every case. And that's problematic. But let's take a look at the first of these. So 4-5 Gokong. Now this is a 0 to begin with. There's no minus on it. It's left over from another thing. In Gokong, I have a free fire zone, but I have no NLF response in there. So I get a -2 for the free fire zone to the die roll. This is going to be 2 dice. The population of Gokong is 0 out of 4. It's a maximum of 4. So I've got 0 out of 4. I'll be on this table at -2, which is not good at all. I've got a shift against me, but that doesn't hurt me because I got no population. So I roll on here. And I get an 8, which means actually I gain a point of population. And the way I'll record that is because it was at a normal 0, it'll go up to a 0 plus. I'll try to make that clear enough that I can see it. Let's take a look at the next one, Anzian. It's in 416. I again have no population, so I'm going to be on the shit chart again. Maybe I'll roll so well. There's a captured capital and a unit in a cultivated zone, but no free fire this time. So the captured capital, well, the unit in the cultivated is worth -1, -2, or -1. The captured capital makes it -2, so it's exactly the same situation. And I'm on 0 out of 5 now, so I'd be looking at the 5 table, the 0 here, and rolling. And I get an 8, which goes down to a 6. There's no change. It could go down to 0 minus. There's a space for that on the board. So let me do a few more and get to one where we have a significant amount of population, and I'll show you the partway through place. I had a number miswritten over here. It's written correctly here, 2 in Hongia, which turns out to be over here. Now, the VC didn't go in there. It's kind of a dangerous place. So what I've got there is 2 out of 6. So I look on the 6, the 2, that would put me in this column, but I do shift down 1 because of the low morale. There's no penalties on me, however, because there's no operation, no VC function there. But I roll a crappy 3, which gets me to 2 down. 2 down from a 2 takes me down to a 1 plus. Now, here I have to be careful. There's a number of ways I can do this. I can just look at the columns and add the differences that happen. So this becomes a -1, and that's probably what I'm going to do. But I also have to make sure I get the 1 in here just so that I have the visual map of what's going on. I'll hit another one a little later. Being silly, showing you so many of these probably. Tuyen Duke's 3 out of 6. Tuyen Duke is over here. There's not a lot of presents, but there's 2 of these. So I'm going to be at the 3 out of 6, which puts me on this column, drops me down to the second column, and now at a half point each for non-capital spaces. So I have a -1 total on the chart. Now I'm getting good rolls for the US actually, which is nice. Like that. 8 is going to be a 1 increase. So Tuyen Duke goes up from a 3 to a 3 plus. Again, that's not going to affect the population yet. We do have the 1 reduction in population. I'll do some more. I'm moving down, and I feel like the conservative options I've taken with the VC are not as impressive. Before I always was more aggressive with them. I'm a little worried about being so, though. So I don't know why. Just because I don't want to screw things up for anybody here. So now we're on Long Con, which is 6 out of 7 in the favor of the U.S. Now Long Con is fairly peaceable. There's 2 guys and nothing interesting, so it'll be a -1 on that. Now 6 out of 7 puts me way over here, so I'm on this column. And you can see I need a 4 or less with that -1 for the VC to get anything out of this. Instead I get a 7, so that's going to be a +1 there. And that goes up to a 6 plus. Just giving you an idea of, sorry about bumping the camera, of what the process is mechanically here. It's very tedious. I usually end up going just down to running down the line and finding the things on the chart. I think that's easier than going down the chart sequentially and trying to find the things on the map. I could count and do my arithmetic correctly. 7 population changed in favor of the VC. The die rolls didn't stay good all along. And in order to record that, I subtract 7 off here. I add 7 over here. We just have more population available. That in and of itself isn't that big a deal. But the population affects the morale affects this chart. We got problems. All right. I think I'm done for tonight. So I'm gonna, let's see, we did pacification. We're gonna go to the strategic war phase because I gotta do some thinking as to whether or not I'm bombing the trail and stuff like that. Okay, so this time I am going to fire off some strategic bombing against the trail, like I was thinking about last time. And like I said, if I can get 8, I pretty much guarantee a hit on the trail. That seems reasonable. So out of my airplanes, I have to... This is fall. I haven't actually started, right? I did summer. Yeah, I'm in fall. So I've got a 519 there. And I still have 21 air available. I'm going to send 8 into strategic bombing. Like I said, I didn't really catch up on that. I caught up on the last column, but I don't feel like you can start the new column to any effect. You just record the morale effects from last year, or from last season. So, let me get this up here to indicate where I am because it's taking me a while. I roll a die. We do have some air defense now. Does that affect things? Yes, it does. So instead of 8, I actually needed 9 to get to that freebie spot. Uh-oh, I gotta erase. Now I just roll myself. Oh no, it's on the trail. It only took 8. Fuck. I did erase. Now I gotta erase again. Okay. And we're going against the trail. So I only got a 10. That's just one effective level on the trail because I didn't get an asterisk on there. Boosting it up could get me the asterisk. I don't have a lot of air power right now. My goal this turn is firepower, so I'm not willing to expend too much. Not exactly the result I would have wanted because I dropped it from 10 to 9. Let's say they send, you know, I could be costing them 10 resources going over, but, well, 10 VC supplies going over. But that doesn't seem like a great payoff. All right. Worry about the actual commitment. Now I committed 10 to the trail. I got to catch up a little bit here. I screwed up again. I'm at 18 base. But I'm going to be spending 10. Now where do I spend supplies? New commitment will go here. So I'm sending 10 across. I know what comes through. It's 9 times that 10. So now there are 90 points again over in the VC supply pool. But it's not in the supply pool yet. It's trail supply. Which means I probably am not going to be buying a whole horde of new pieces. But I'll probably buy a fair amount of pieces. And you're going to see a migration from the trail out towards the coast. To some extent it makes sense to, you know, delay the pieces a turn so you can build it elsewhere. But to some extent it doesn't. The VC can pretty much move from there to the coast in a turn, you know, so they can get where they want to go using strategic movement. As long as they're not trying to do anything violent, they can get where they need to go. So I've never found the restriction of having to start units near the coast or near the trail to be particularly heavy. I wasn't sending anything by sea, and now I start my political crap. And I'll give you a report on it. You saw the mechanisms in play before. At this point, don't know how much value there is to watch die rolling. So we managed to replace a couple of leaders we had to replace at divisional level. One was a bad leader, the other one was okay, but he was too far down. We got some good rolls on morale, on their loyalty. By the way, there's no definition for how you generate their loyalty that I could find. I could use the base starting game version, or what I chose to do, I rolled 2 dice and just put that into play. It probably should actually be 2 dice plus 2, because 5 is kind of the bottom, so let's bump these guys up to 13 loyalty. They just got put in position, they're pretty loyal. Again, I just have to, there's no reason to pick one version over the other. A little bit better loyalty will help the US. The US always has trouble when I'm playing, so. Otherwise, I got a very good effectiveness roll of 1, which means almost everything's effective. The first corps is my only problem, really. Although this 1 4th Corps leader, the 18th Division, is also a problem, but that's okay. I got 1 regiment under that command. So that shouldn't be too big a problem. So we're going to see a little bit more potentiality coming from the ARVN this time. And that suits me very well. It might mean that I spend more effort building up ARVN and getting some artillery in play for them. Getting some wow, I bought all of the infantry, didn't I? I bought all of the infantry battalions. Now I gotta start buying armored cav. Crap. Oh well. But yeah. There's, like I said, somebody suggested buy armored cav for the divisions as your initial purchases. And then that way you can return them back to the SVN unit pool and essentially can a leader by doing that. And recycle divisional leaders. Man, that feels gamey as hell to me. I understand why, I can do some hand-waving reasons why you could do it, and I'm not entirely opposed to it. But if the US can't win without taking such gamey actions, I'm not sure I'm thrilled with what it's trying to model. It feels, it's kind of like the gaming actions in another Victory Games game, Civil War, where, oh look, I'll just draw all my leaders to St. Louis. That way, I won't get any any high-level commanders that I don't want where I don't want them. That costs you command points, but overall, it's better than drawing into an army and maybe getting, Halleck in charge of an army or something. Okay. So, I was wrong last time. The loyalty adjustment comes here in the rules, but in terms of the sequence of play, it's actually supposed to happen during the morale adjustment. It didn't have any effect. I screwed up. I thought I screwed up, and then I unscrewed up, and actually screwed up that way, and whatever. Yeah, you know what I mean. Or you don't. There was no coup. The only problem with this guy down here, hopefully I'll be seeing his end soon, because he sucks. And now I'm going to do some calculations. This is the political phase stuff on the SVN morale adjustment and US morale adjustment, and that's when I roll to see if the leaders move, which is kind of the wrong time to do it because I've already chosen effectiveness at this point. It's one of the reasons I thought this should happen before. Whatever should happen before this. Loyalty adjustment thing should happen before. In addition to it being earlier in the rules than leader replacement. But whatever. Net effect of the national morale charts. SVN population is a little low, so the SVN took a hit from that. They've got their leader penalty, and they get a penalty for 3 captured capitals. Every 3 costs 1. The NLF was able to get that. The US takes also a penalty from the captured capitals, so they're going down to big 518. Seems like a long way away, but I'm so terrified of running out of commitment for the US. Obviously, in the long game, it has to happen. But I'm probably too terrified. We had a bad effect over on the loyalty table where all the bees went down space. Again, you know, we want to get up into the high population control. That's real, or I'm sorry, the high SVN morale and high population control to get that help bootstrap that. Right now, the VC controls too much of the territory, too much of the population. And even places where, there's no VC operations going on, we saw decreases sometimes in the population. So, bad die rolls can hurt you. One thing to note about this, you're seeing a lot of spreadsheet work. There is a lot of spreadsheet going on in the campaign game. Early in the game, it's probably half the game. If you don't like doing this kind of effort in a game, I don't mind it because of things like EU, I kind of ramped up to that. Although honestly, this was one of my earlier games that was really, really heavy on spreadsheet type stuff. If you don't like that kind of thing, the campaign game is not for you. The scenarios might be fun though. I think I've played a scenario once, other than some of the intro scenarios. I played a couple of those, but the core level scenarios, which are like a season or whatever, they allow you to play around with the unique mechanisms for activating units and gaining things. Honestly, though, if that's all you're going to get out of the game, I would say this is not worth hunting down particularly. This is really for the campaign game. If you're not willing to spend, at least for the after TED or whatever, if you're not willing to spend a significant amount of time looking at spreadsheets and trying to figure out your force pool and all kind of stuff like that, this is really not the right game for you. It's got interesting mechanisms in play, but it's kind of like if you're playing the core level games, it's kind of like a magazine game in a lot of ways. A good one, a damn good one, and maybe it's worth, spitting out whatever this goes for now. If it ever gets republished, it probably is more worth it. I also had some mention on my map, the damage to my map. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I got this game used, and it was not in great condition. Somebody had taped it to the table or whatever, and that's pretty damn obvious. The pinholes, I don't know if those were mine or not. I might have done that based on the fact that there were tape rips everywhere. I don't think so, though, because I don't think I ever had a table I was willing to stick pins into to hold this map down. So I think that was, again, already there. The map was poochy to begin with. All Victory Games maps are. But, as I mentioned, this part of the map is a little bit worse than that part. That's because back in my fun days, I ended up spitting a bunch of vodka over it, trying to spit it at someone else, but whatever. Last turn, I just went out and bought myself a Marine division, and that was kind of the core of what I wanted to do for the turn. This turn, because ARVN, I know they're effective divisions and everything like that, I'm relying more on building ARVN units. And I want to buy what I want to buy. You know what I mean? And the problem with that is I kind of have to do things backwards. I have to buy the South Vietnamese units before I buy the units that I'm going to buy for the U.S. And I'm, filling out a couple of divisions that I like, trying to get a lot of armored cav. That's not armored cav. What the hell? Well, I can't buy that. If I got any more of them sitting in there, we got an issue. I'm trying to buy armored cav, etc., but I just really, and artillery, obviously. I'm just really kind of I don't know what I'm going to get for the U.S., but let's figure out what I want to get for ARVN first, and then we'll see what my points wind up as and how much artillery I can back the US up with. I forgot about the 15 limit and aimed for the 25 limit, and I'm not going to undo that. I bought 25 new commitment for the US. That involves a lot of SVN forces, including some Rangers. Yay! Although I think I paid for more than I actually grabbed there. I'm taking 4 of the Rangers. If I'm going to be using ARVN a lot, I need them. What I've learned is I'm not cutting it with the firepower I have, so I bought a whole bunch of artillery and an extra cruiser. 14 points of SVN supplies thrown in, an economic aid, which only got me 1 point, and an extra air mobile point. Actually, I probably need the Riverines now because I'm going to be using ARVN down there in the 4th Corps at this point. But there's no guarantees that I'll always be able to use them down there, so we'll see. And for ARVN, some extra regiments, some upgrades for the regiments that are already on there to give them more artillery, more pursuit capability. If I'm going to be using them, I got to use them. A bunch of armored cavs so that I can use the regiments I have, and then 4 more artillery there. I did not buy any additional replacement points. The U.S. seems to be able to handle the fights that they're getting into without taking losses. ARVN may take losses. They got a lot of replacement points still, so I think I'm okay there. That new commitment increased SVN morale, which is important to me. Also increased NLF morale. Terrible. Like I said, the economic aid package, though, crapped out. I only got a 1. I rolled a 2. I only got 1 point off of it, which kind of blows. And now I got to figure out where to drop these units. For the US units, that's not too hard. For the ARVN units, I have to put them in ports kind of near the units that are in their command, which is not an optimally easy thing to determine. Our commitment has gone up above 50 to 65, so I can roll to get Korean units. Each element of the capital comes in on a 1 through 4. So 4 rolls are made. That's this thing. Gotta hunt them down. Yeah, so I'll roll for the headquarters first, and then the 3 regiments coming in afterwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I get everything except the 3rd unit of that. And I don't think I have to pay for these. I believe these come in for free. If all die rolls fail for the headquarters itself, the 9th Division appears on a roll of 1, and 2nd Marine Brigade on a 1 or 2. So let's check those as well. Yes. No. These don't amount to much. They're big units. This is big. It has some artillery with it. The 9th Division, also fairly large, has some artillery with it. Good defensive stuff, and that's what I'm going to use it as. I'm going to probably drop 1 in Saigon, and it'll be in charge of defending that itself, and I'll probably throw the other somewhere else. I can spread them out a little bit, but I don't want to do it too much. If I could find an area where there's a lot of capitals nearby, that would be a good place for it. But for the most part, they're just holding territory. They're not really something that I'm going to be using for operations. But that's okay. They free up, units that are sitting on valuable capitals. And the piles are beginning to grow. Basically, the ports are my reinforcement places, and there aren't a whole lot of them here. Stuff to help the 5th Division for the ARVN here, plus some stuff for the U.S. 1st Marines. Then over here, more to help the U.S. 1st Marines up here. A little bit of artillery, but most of that's 2nd Division, 1st Division. ARVN is over here. Oh, plus the Koreans are in there. The capital division. Because it's the capital. It's more important. I want to make sure the Koreans are defending that. Coming, you can see like the Marines have gotten some upgrades. They've also gotten some artillery to support them. Coming up here, I've got more Koreans up here in Da Nang and to protect this artillery, actually, more than anything else. I'll move it somewhere else probably once the artillery gets out of there. And just enough stuff that I can operate and conduct some operations, you know. The problem is, yeah, let's be redundant. The problem is I don't have a lot of air points, which means if I'm dealing in kind of icky terrain, like up here and stuff like that, and over there, the artillery has a harder time getting places. And I don't have a lot of air mobile points, air mobilizing. I can air mobilize that artillery. That's the cool thing. I bought the heaviest stuff that I can move. And I can riverine it. I don't want to buy the huge artillery. That stuff's great, but right now I don't feel like I need that much, and it's very expensive comparatively on either side, either ARVN or the US. Those Rangers, I'm hoping that they help me a whole hell of a lot, especially in the ARVN operations. I may not use them in US operations. Although the advantage of being able to use ARVN replacements in that case is great, I might as well throw in ARVN units then as well. And, well, usually you're only committing one unit at a time, though. And I've been having a lot of trouble catching things. Those guys, that's the main effect that I have for them. I don't expect to take losses. It'll happen. But with the VC setup, I don't expect that to be much. So I'm done with the US side of the purchases. Now it's time to go to the NLF, and I expect to be buying a lot of pieces out of there. The political sections will also be deploying along the trail because, again, I spent all of my supply pool in the setup. The US is aware of that, presumably. Therefore, see how it's easy to play solitaire. You make decisions that the other player knows what you're doing. Yeah, you know, again, it's easy enough to move these pieces, so I'm not that worried about that. Someday maybe we'll start seeing some patrols to hem things in a little bit better, but it's tough to do unless, you know, everything's near the trail. So things can come running out of there unless I have like a chain of units. Everything's near the trail, and a chain of units, well, then we start using C supply, right? You know, if you want to build something like McNamara, doing it with actual units, feel free. The McNamara, the big advantage it gives is when units cross the borders, and the question is how big it is. When units cross the borders, the US gets the next activation. But you've got to be prepared to take advantage of that. And right now, we're in no position to even think about that. We need a whole lot more troops on the board to be able to access the border wherever it's being breached. It's not something I've ever tried, actually. Maybe this game, I don't know. Sorry about babbling so much. It just helps me. At this point, the VC have bought 30 more of their battalions. That actually emptied their cup. I don't know. Let's see. It doesn't really matter. That left them with 30 supply left. They cost 60 supply to build that. They're also getting up there in terms of the VC draft. They're about halfway, right? At some point, they're going to have to start spending commitment on getting North Vietnamese into South Vietnam in order to cost the draft. But that's just, you know, the nature of the game. My commitment will keep going up as long as the US keeps trying to squish me. And these are all coming in through the trail, and I got my 4 political sections, which also will do so. Just got to figure out where to put them. And we'll start, I think that's really the end of this video. I have to do some thinking, but infiltration, we're not going to see any of that. We're not doing an offensive. US can play around. I've already done my ARVN effectiveness. Damn it! I will never remember. And, you know, that good roll is what convinced me to commit the ARVN this time. Oh well. the U.S. can stand some cheating in their favor, I think. And we're not gonna, we have no VC regiments, so we're not gonna break those down. So we're pretty much ready to go with the next turn. I just have to set these suckers up. Let's load this video up.